Welcome everyone to a very exciting short informational webinar we're having today about chapter community gatherings. And so while I kind of kick us off here, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, as Angel mentioned. We're going to give a very brief overview of what chapter community gatherings are, the guidelines for putting one together, what the proposal process looks like, and then we're really hoping to have most of the time for Q&A. So keep that in mind. We welcome questions throughout the, we welcome you to submit questions at any point, but we'll get to those towards the end. And with that, we will get started. So like I said, my name is Daniela Bernal. I'm Associate Director of Member Services here at SACNAS, and I'm joined by my colleague Angel, who is the leader of our chapters as well, our chapters coordinator. So between him and I, we'll be giving a brief overview today of chapter community gatherings. And so what we will hope to cover in today's short webinar is what these gatherings are. You might have heard the term regional meeting, but we have kind of rebranded to community gatherings, and we're very excited for what that means for our community. We'll go over the process of hosting such an event. We'll go over what you need for a proposal, how to submit your proposal, and resources and next steps in case you have any additional questions. Before we jump into it, I'll just say too that SACNAS has a strong history of hosting regional meetings, and through this work of putting together guidelines and resources, we hope to make this even stronger for our chapters to put on events like this, to get together, to gather in community, as we all love to do. And I also have to acknowledge that these guidelines were put together with strong collaboration from what was a task force of members who had lots of experience in hosting these types of events over the years. So we're extremely grateful to those SACNistas who helped us put this all together. And with that, I think I'll just mention again, this is going to be a very high-level review. We will share the guidelines via a document that you can look at any time for additional details. And as always, you can always ask questions of us at any time. So with that, let's jump into what is a chapter community gathering.
Yes, thank you, Daniela. So what is a chapter community gathering? A SACNAS chapter community gathering is a coming together of at least one active SACNAS chapter with other chapters and groups that either currently have or wish to have a connection with SACNAS. So institutions, organizations that support the mission and vision of SACNAS. The key term here is active chapters. What an active chapter is a chapter that must have submitted an annual report to the national office in the current year. The name community gathering is previously referred to as regional meetings. The new name is more inclusive to different types of gatherings and better represent the purpose of the event. So this is not a meeting, but it's more of a coming together. And we want this to occur as a complement to the national conference, which we will discuss the timing in the later section of logistics.
Thank you, Angel. So with that in mind, I think Angel hinted at the most important thing. This is a coming together. And so with that, there's a lot of reasons one might host an event such as this. First and foremost, it is a leadership and advocacy opportunity for our chapters. We know that chapters are interested in hosting events, in collaborating with one another, and this is an opportunity to be leaders in that sense and create a space, an event, a gathering for chapters to do just that. So it's a great opportunity for individual chapter members to have that leadership and planning experience. Second, I'm going to mention this a lot, but it's an opportunity to promote networking and collaboration between chapters. We are, I think as of today, 144 chapters strong across the country. That means there's a lot of chapters that are near each other, and it's great to have those chapters be able to collaborate, to meet, and to work together in their local areas to achieve some of their goals, to advance some of their initiatives and plans, and so this is an opportunity for that. The third component is really offering something to your local community, to your local institution that might not already exist. This can be providing more places to present research, additional professional development that, again, doesn't already exist on campus. And in true SACNAS way, we know our chapters are providing a lot of these kind of culturally minded professional development opportunities. And no better way to do that than in collaboration with other chapters and have that available for your institution and your local community as well. And then fourth, what we've seen and what we hear from those who have put on events like this in the past is that it's a great way for, again, the local community, your local institution to really see what chapters are doing and showcase the benefits of having a chapter, the activities that you have going on, to bring people along into being supporters of your goals and what you're trying to do within your campus and beyond. So it's a great opportunity to recruit people to be SACNIStas along with you. So I'll hand it over to Angel to kind of talk about, now that you know what chapter gatherings are, the purpose behind them, let's talk about how you actually might submit a proposal to host a chapter gathering.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniela. Yes. So this is the proposal that we will be expecting, the process that we'll be expecting for the new proposals. This process is also outlined in more detail in the guidelines that we'll be providing in the SACNAS chapter website. So firstly, the chapter initiates interest and reviews a pre-proposal checklist, which we will be providing in the website as well. The host chapter submits a proposal online, and then the proposals are reviewed by the SACNAS chapter subcommittee. After that, the host chapter is notified of their status. And after that, if accepted, the host chapter begins planning and then keeping SACNAS HQ informed of every milestone that's going on through the way.
Perfect, thank you. And before I jump into what's actually the things you'll want to keep in mind in preparing your proposal to host a gathering, I do see some new attendees have joined, so I just wanted to take a moment to say that we are accepting questions. Feel free to put those in the Q&A or in the chat, I think is fine. And we are saving most of our time for Q&A towards the end. So side note, but thank you, Angel just covered, the process of submitting a proposal, but a lot of thought goes into submitting a proposal. And so we're going to talk now about the things to keep in mind when submitting a proposal and really planning an event like this. So number one, and these are all kind of questions that are going to come up in the proposal, is who's doing what? Who's in charge here? And so we have kind of a chart here, and I'm not going to go down, but kind of across. And so number one, and there's an orange star next to it. Number one, you're going to need to identify, what chapter is really hosting this. And as Angel mentioned, the host of these types of events really should be an active SACNAS chapter. That means they're recognized by the national organization and in good standing. And that chapter can really serve as the host on their campus. Beyond that, in addition to the chapter itself, there might also be supporters on your campus, people who might not necessarily be affiliated with your chapter, but are people on campus who can help, run these types of events. And so those people will form what is kind of at the top, that host organizing committee. And so between the active chapter, the host organizing committee, these are the people who are on site, on location of where you're planning to host your event. Just below SACNAS chapter, you see Community Gathering Organizing Committee. This is where you engage your collaborating chapters. So these are other chapters in your geographical region. There's not really a limit on how far you should consider, but you might want to take into account reasonable driving distance, travel, things like that. But this committee is really where you engage collaborating chapters to be part of planning this event. And so between all those three groups, an application, a proposal can be created. And again, we're going to get into what should be in that proposal. but those would be submitted to the national office via our website, and we'll share all the links and stuff after towards the end. But just for your knowledge, what will happen is those proposals will be submitted to the national office. Our amazing group of volunteers in our chapters subcommittee will review applications, provide feedback, and notify you of the status of your application this year by October 1st. We hope to do this a little bit earlier in the year, but recognizing it's basically August, this year's deadline will be October 1st that you'll hear back. And so it'll be around the same time every single year. Okay, so let's get into logistics. Angel.
Yes, thank you. So we'll talk briefly about the logistics. The host location / institution is agreeable to physically host the event. And the SACNAS staff and subcommittee want 3 proposed dates so that we can ensure events are not overlapping. So when to hold the event. The SACNAS National Diversity in STEM Conference is held annually in October. Therefore, a SACNAS community gathering cannot be held in the fall. Host chapters should plan the gathering during the spring academic semester, ideally between January and April, to facilitate undergraduate student participation, which aligns with the SACNAS mission. In terms of transportation, SACNAS does not recommend students driving other students unless they have successfully passed a motor vehicle record check and taken an approved safe driving course. Active chapters should be familiar with the sexual harassment and discrimination training platform provided by the SACNAS staff. Please note that chapters considering student drivers in any way should be included in this proposal as well. We will now talk briefly about the planning for inclusion and belonging. So the draft agenda does not need to be detailed or longer than 1 page. However, it should consider the following, which is the audience. So who is coming to your gathering? Is it a community college students, graduate students, undergraduate students, a mix of both? Also a Native American / Indigenous inclusion plan and a community engagement plan. Creating a safe, inclusive, welcoming environment is an important part of all SACNAS activities, which includes a plan for accessibility and following the SACNAS Code of Conduct.
Thank you so much, Angel.
Daniela, for funding and partnerships. Yes, no problem.
Thank you, and sorry for the extra clicks. I advanced the slides a little too early. I got excited. But one thing before I move on that I just want to point out that Angel touched on is that what you'll see in the application is a question about that draft agenda. And so I want to emphasize one thing that Angel said, which is it does not need to be detailed. It does not need to be super long. It actually should be about 1 page, and you'll see all of that on the proposal form. But these components that we've listed out, and you'll see sections for these in the proposal as well, are just important things that we want to keep in mind. And we encourage our planners and our hosts of gatherings to keep in mind all of these things follow kind of the SACNAS mission, what's important to us, how we protect our attendees, how we celebrate our Native and Indigenous communities. And so these are all important components of the application that you will see questions about. But that is not to say that you have to go into super detail. We understand, this is a plan. You're putting together your ideas. And so we encourage you to think about that even at these early stages. Moving on to, if I can finally click, yes, funding and partnerships. So really the host chapter is going to be the one ensuring that, the host location, in most cases, it's going to be your institution, is supportive of physically hosting your event. And so they're the ones providing, the physical space, the rooms, the auditorium, whatever it is where such an event will take place. That said, there might be the need for additional support. And so what you'll see in the guidelines are some suggestions about how to engage partners. And the key here is we really need to keep the national office informed of where you are in this process. If you have ideas about a potential partner / sponsor, please include that in your proposal. If you're thinking about approaching a sponsor, please notify the national office of who that might be, and we can help facilitate that process and provide you kind of best practices for that as well. That in mind, overall, our host chapter, again, and our collaborating chapters are really responsible for funding the gathering, using the fundraising initiatives that your chapter may have, and the national office is really there, myself, Angel, to provide you guidance throughout the process. Oops, sorry. Angel.
Thank you, Diana. So now we'll move on to the branding and marketing. So who is in charge of the branding and marketing of the community gathering? It is mainly the host chapter responsible for creating marketing materials and promotions using approved SACNAS chapter branding. Just a reminder, no usage of the SACNAS National Office logo, the main one. And we also recommend Canva as a great resource. It is very simple and a creative tool to help with all of your graphics. Some of us use it here in the SACNAS staff as well. The SACNAS HQ will provide the chapter logo if your chapter does not have it yet, and the branding guidelines. It will also help spread the word in our networks as well as the collaborating chapters that will help spread the word, such as use of social media and word of mouth.
Thank you, Angel. And since we're coming up on time, I might breeze through this last slide, these last two a little quickly, so that we have time for Q&A. So just a reminder, we have some time allotted for questions if you want to pop those in the chat or in the Q&A box. But in the meantime, one of the questions that we received from attendees already is kind of what is the role here of the national office, and specifically myself and Angel. And so, you know, we just covered all of the components of the proposal, but we are here for you to support chapters in putting these events together throughout the process. And so we really want to be in the loop on all things. And that means that supports us to be able to provide guidance to your chapter and how to submit that proposal. But even after the proposal, we can help connect your chapter with potential collaborators, again, connecting you with other chapters in the area and people who might want to collaborate towards your event. If you're not already aware of who those are, we are a resource for that. Next, of course, we have a lot of best practices and guidelines. Many amazing SACNistas have put together events like this in the past, and we use their expertise to put together these guidelines, but we also have additional opportunities to provide training. Angel mentioned safe driver training, and other resources to ensure that your event is not just successful, but safe and welcoming for all, as all SACNAS events are. And then, of course, we are liaising with our marketing staff, the national office marketing team, to help spread the word via our networks as well, so that once you have your event planned and organized and coming up, we can help spread the word to other SACNistas and members in your area. That said, once the event ends, there are a few things that the fun doesn't end once your event ends. There are a few things that we will request of planners of gatherings, and this is really meant so that we can help support future gatherings and help provide further information and expertise to future chapters who want to host these events. So you'll see a list there. It's part of the application, just a heads up of the things that we will be looking for after your event is held as well. So I won't go too into the details of it here, but just know that by providing some of this information, we can really be better set up to help future chapters, or even your chapter, again, host more successful events every time. And in that way, we can really learn from chapters who are hosting these events and help support future chapters looking to engage in this way. So real quick, Angel, let's do the timeline and then we'll get to Q&A.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Real quick, when you submit your proposal, make sure to review the checklist and double check the proposal online. It is a good idea to bookmark the application on your browser. Also, collaborate with your chapter, host institution, and potential collaborating chapters. As a reminder, you will have to submit your proposal for 2024 events by September 1st of this year. This is for 2023 only, so for this year only. After this year, proposals will be due by July 1st of each year. So yeah, that is the timeline. Thank you so much. We will now transition to the Q&A section. And if you have any questions, please answer them in the chat if you wish so. For those of you viewing this recording, please feel free to email us as well. But I can get started off with one of the questions that we've gotten so far from the registration form, which is what sort of support can we get from SACNAS National Office for regional SACNAS conferences?
Thank you, great question. And for that, I'm going to scroll back again, apologies, to this slide here. So I touched on this a little bit, but what I would say overall, just to really emphasize, is that the SACNAS office is really interested in supporting you throughout the process. So please do keep us informed. We've worked hard over the last couple of months. And again, I really have to thank the task force that helped put these guidelines together to develop all of this guidance to help you think through the event, make sure no detail is left unconsidered. And so when you take a look at the guidelines, you'll see all of that detail there. When you look at the proposal form, you'll see all of those components listed. But overall, our role, myself and Angel and the national office, is to support you to submit that proposal and to have a successful event. So keep us in the loop, keep asking us questions so that we can better support you. Whenever you have ideas of things that might make it easier to plan these events or things that could help you better plan, we are all ears. We're open to hearing how we can better share this information and provide this guidance for you. So hopefully that answers your question. And we'll be sharing contact information, of course, at the end as well.
Thank you, thank you. Perfect. Another great question that we have also is, do I need to know all of the speakers to include in the agenda that I submit in the proposal? Great question.
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I mentioned, one of us mentioned about submitting a kind of a draft agenda, and I think that goes into that question, which is really that what you're submitting here is draft, and we mean it when we say draft. So, you know, you're submitting a proposal for an event that's happening next year. And while, you know, the earlier the better that you know details like this, we don't necessarily expect you to know every single detail of every speaker or their session name or, you know, the exact time that things are going to happen. What the proposal is meant for and specifically what the agenda question is getting at is, have you thought about kind of a general layout of what your event's going to look like? Is there a theme? About how long is it? Is there going to be research presentations? Is it a keynote speaker? Speaker TBD is absolutely fine. And so the details of what we're looking for is really more around the dates, the times, the location, and then all the other questions you'll see are more prompts for you to think about and to ensure that you have a plan to address questions such as, you know, the details of an agenda, how you're including the Native and Indigenous community, different things like that. So to answer the question, long story short, no, you don't need to necessarily know all the speakers, all the details quite yet, but
Right.
we encourage you to provide as much detail as you can that you have at the time.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much. Another great important question as well is, which I don't think we touched on, but what happens if my proposal is not approved?
Another good question. Yes, so Angel talked about the timeline and submitting by this year's deadline for an event that you hope to host in 2024. That said, and this will be true for every year, so once your proposal is submitted, like we touched on, the chapter's subcommittee will review. And so proposals that are not approved, the subcommittee members will provide feedback to you, and that should be productive feedback to help you improve your proposal. And pending, you know, any conflicting events or anything like that, we would invite you to reapply for the same year. And so it might be that there's a couple revisions or a couple edits to your proposal, and then you could resubmit by October 15th of this year. And so all that to say, we encourage you to spend time submitting a strong proposal. But if it's not approved right away, we are looking to make sure that you get the feedback needed to strengthen your proposal and resubmit in a timely manner.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And if we don't have any more questions, we could go ahead and move on to the next slide. And as always, if we didn't get to your question or if you think of something at a later time, please send us an email at chapters@sacnas.org. So thank you so much for all of you for participating and for viewing this recording. Please find the proposal form and resources at our website this week. And always remember to use our email at chapters@sacnas.org, like I mentioned, so we can answer any questions or concerns or comments that you have. We're always available to help. And to get you started, please use this QR code to access the directory and look for nearby active chapters that you want to connect with and collaborate. There should be the general SACNAS chapter email addresses in there as well as their president's name. And we are currently at an all-time high of 144 SACNAS chapters.
Awesome. Thank you, Angel. And before we really close, I just want to make a quick plug for our national conference. It's coming up October 26 to 28 in Portland, Oregon. It is our 50th anniversary, so we hope to have lots of exciting chapters or excited attendees and to celebrate our chapters there this October. One note that I didn't mention, one of the reasons we are hoping to have chapter gathering proposals submitted in this earlier part of the year is that so we can share upcoming chapter gathering events during the conference. So a benefit of planning now is that you would be able to share your event and notify people to save the date for 2024 during this year's conference. So with that, thank you again for everyone here. For joining us today. We will be sharing information via email as well. And if you have any questions, please email us at chapters@sacnas.org. And for those of you who joined late or had to leave early, we will be sending a recording out as well that you can watch or share with your networks. So thank you again. That concludes this webinar, and have a great rest of your day. Thank
Thank you all.
you.
Thank you.